All right, everybody, welcome to Secular Jams Now.
Secular jams now.
We are extending the CJN multiverse. So I'm treating this as if we had grown up not listening to church music. Yeah,
Like
no, this
normal
is
kids.
yeah, exactly. Three former
Crust
kids doing a deep dive on and current music nerds doing a deep dive
on just music.
on just music
Just
from the
music.
90s and 2000s. So this is a Patreon only show that we're gonna do. We kind of talked about this. The idea that it might be kind of fun to bring not necessarily like just Christian records, but like secular records from the 90s and 2000s that all three of us may like individually love, that maybe don't get talked about a whole lot, and kind of give the full CJN treatment to. I am, of course, one of your hosts, Kylan Savage, and with me, as always, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Hey, ready to get
Hey.
secular up in here.
That sounds so scary. And of course, our beautiful producer, Josh Olson.
What's up? Yeah, I know. I feel like I should alter my personality since we're
Yeah,
not
we
on
gotta
a regular
get edgy.
show.
Yeah, we have to be edgy.
I'm Josh Olson. What of it?
This
I listen to secular stuff.
this just feels like some residual religious trauma. They were like, oh, secular, we have to be edgy.
That is 100% what's happening.
Yes,
We're overcompensating because we feel like we have to.
Exactly. Yeah. So for this very first one, I picked a record that you guys know nothing about,
Accurate.
but I'm really excited about. This is a record that's in my top 10, top 10 of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time, dude. This is a real fireproof situation. I'm putting myself out.
I want to say,
the-
for the record, we have had at
You
least
are.
one, maybe two conversations of us all talking about our top 10 records, and this was definitely not on the list when we talked.
Okay,
last time.
then fine.
So,
Top 20.
I want to be fair that this record is coming out of left field, but not because I just don't know.
It's
but
because
you have never mentioned it.
This is a record. So I have okay, so we talked about I'm doing this emo masterclass podcast by myself. And I have this because I'm in this weird position of someone that consumes so much pop culture that on one level it makes it really easy to connect with a lot of people because I have a lot of connection points. But then I feel like there is a lot of stuff that I really connect to that I just don't necessarily bring up or talk about because I don't have anyone that because it's a little bit of chicken or the egg of my personality type, Enneagram 4, Wing 5 or whatever, that I want to connect with people, but I also want to give I also want other people to feel really seen and heard. So I will typically wait for a connection point to be brought up,
for it to be natural.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't bring up a lot of because there are these weirdly specific things within pop culture that I super connect to that I just it just doesn't ever come up. And I feel like I don't want to be that guy that's oh, you should check out this band, even though I recognize intellectually that's not ever the case. But
well, especially with us. So
exactly, I know.
So great.
So I'm excited to talk about this record. So I'm taking over Josh's position, and I did research, guys.
This is weird. I did zero research.
Yeah. Josh, how do you feel flying blind like this?
It's kind of nice.
Is it?
I had zero
Isn't
preparation to do. I was
this is why I have so many quips, because I don't have to prepare anything.
Yeah, we'll see how many quips you have on this episode because your brain space has been taken up by research.
Yeah.
Exactly. No quip.
Exactly.
So guys, this week we're going to talk about the 1998 record Orange Rhyming Dictionary by Jets to Brazil.
Which Orange Rhyming Dictionary is a great name.
It's
for a
so
record.
good. It's so good.
It's a perfect album name.
So I love Jets to Brazil, and I love this album in particular.
Mm.
So since you guys probably have like no emotional connection to this band, let's just go ahead and dive into like some of the research. There are some things on this that I think you will find interesting. So Jets to Brazil started in Brooklyn in 1997. They were mostly active from 97 to 2003. They only had 3 albums that came out. Orange Rhyming Dictionary was their first one. Four Corner Night came out in 2000, and Perfecting Loneliness came out in 2002. They kind of briefly got back together in like 2015 and did a couple shows, but no new music or anything. So 97 to 03 was sort of their real run. The band consists of 3 main members, Blake Schwarzenbach on vocals and guitar, and he actually came from the band Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker, yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jawbreaker at all.
That's
but
the only thing I know about Jets to Brazil, Kyle.
Yeah.
Is that it's the guy from Jawbreaker.
It's the guy from Jawbreaker. Yeah. So Jawbreaker. Oh, where did TJ go?
TJ.
That was all he had to say.
He's like, I'm out.
The only thing I know is the guy from Jawbreaker. Peace out. Well, I'll keep going on research. I hope he'll come back in. I took off the option for the waiting room, so he should just jump back in.
Okay.
So, Josh, are you familiar with Jawbreaker at all?
I don't think I am.
Okay. So Jawbreaker was kind of part of that whole 90s like second wave of emo.
Okay.
So it was like real kind of like punk rock, but really focused on like more like, closer to like the 80s, like emo core, where it was more like hardcore or punk rock. But instead of talking about politics and how angry they are at everything, they talked about like ladies and how sad they were. And Jeremy Chatelain was on bass. He's the guy that's kind of floated around a bunch of different bands from that. But Chris Daly played drums on the record. He was formerly from the band Texas Is the Reason. I don't know if you know Texas Is the Reason at all, but they're another one of my favorites from this time period. One of those bands, they like Texas Is the Reason to me is like on the same level as like Mineral or the Gloria record, where it's like they were hugely influential within this specific scene, but outside of that, like no one really knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're talking about Chris Daly is the drummer. He was the drummer for Texas Is the Reason.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another one of those like 90s emo bands that I
Cool.
really love. And they had a couple other members kind of in and out, but they were like the 3 primary for this record. Fun fact, the name Jets to Brazil actually came from Chris Daly. It's a reference to Breakfast at Tiffany's, the movie. There's a scene in Holly Golightly's
of him.
Yeah, right, I know. In Holly Golightly's apartment, there's a poster. It looks like a travel poster of like an airplane, and it says Jets to Brazil.
Amazing.
And he
Wow.
thought that'd be a cool band name.
He was
so
right.
They decided to go for it. Yeah. So this album, Orange Rhyming Dictionary, came out October 27th, 1998 on Jade Tree Records. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jade Tree at all, but they were kind of like the 90s emo record label. This was actually, so this album didn't chart, but it is the best-selling release in Jade Tree's history, according to
Wow.
them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like it's sold more than
That's
any
cool.
other. The thing that I found out that I didn't know about this record that kind of ties it back into the CJN universe at large was this record was produced by Jay Robbins. So he produced for The Promise Ring, Against Me, like a bunch of bands around this time. But the thing that's really going to connect it is that I didn't know is Jay Robbins produced AB Life by Me Without You.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
So he not only did production, he did like additional instruments and vocals and stuff. But
This is the beauty of research.
I know, it's crazy. That was like
Connecting
the
those
coolest thing.
dots.
I was so excited. I was so excited when I read that. I was
That's
like,
great.
oh man, the guys are gonna get a kick out
Yeah.
of this.
Very cool.
Yeah, so his fingerprints are kind of all over this record.
Nice.
And I am curious to, like, whenever we do like AB Life, to see kind of how that compares.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So last thing, we have some Spotify stats. Jets to Brazil has about 71,000 monthly listeners. Their biggest song, so their three biggest songs on Spotify are all from this record. Chinatown has 5 million listens, Sweet Avenue has 4 million, and Crown of the Valley has 1 million.
Pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Respectable.
Yeah. So I know you guys don't know anything about this, so I know there's not much discussion until we like dive into it.
The only thing that I am imagining just from like the name of the band and the album and looking at the track list and the artwork is like, I'm imagining Sunny Day Real Estate meets Minus the Bear. And that's the only thing that I'm like expecting.
That's actually pretty
Yeah.
accurate.
All
That's
right.
like, that's really good. Yeah. Blake Schwarzenbach, he's got a very like particular voice. It to me, it's like, it doesn't sound the same, but it feels like a spiritual successor to like Elvis Costello.
Cool.
You know what I mean? He's got like a very particular kind of like proto pop punk voice that like, he doesn't have like the strongest voice, but
it's got
you're
character.
you're either really gonna love it or you're really gonna hate it.
Yeah.
But I love it. There are some songs on here that I like super love. Another fun fact, the album art was done by, I don't remember his name now, but the lead singer of The Promise Ring.
Oh,
He did like album art for like a bunch of those guys around that time.
nice.
So, okay, besides Josh's analysis, do you guys have anything? TJ, do you have anything?
Well, we had that little
Going in?
conversation on our text thread about supergroups, and I wanted to
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like, do you consider Just a Brazil a supergroup?
Yeah.
I don't really. I don't because I feel like for a supergroup to exist, like enough of the members have to be like high profile enough to like recognize.
Relatively successful in their other projects.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I fucking love Texas Is the Reason, but I also recognize that it is very specific and they only have like the one album. You know what I mean? So if anything, I would qualify this more as like a side project.
It's like a Jawbreaker spinoff.
Because after Jets to Brazil broke up, like Jawbreaker kind of got back together and stuff. So yeah, it's more of a side project than anything else.
Okay. I just wondered what your sort of categorization would be for it. So that's good to know.
Yeah. But guys, this album, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I know it's a big one for you. So just based on that, I'm really excited.
I think too, because there were a lot of albums that I considered, but I think this one, in particular, I think it's gonna scratch the itch of like TJ lyrically and Josh production wise. You know what I mean? Like I think there's gonna be a good balance. Like I'm hoping for bops all around. I also recognize if it's not, you know, it is what it is.
It's a Kylan record. Yeah,
it is.
And you'll stand by that. That's what we're doing.
But I think there's going to be different elements of the record that are going to hit both of y'all. Nice. I think the whole reasoning behind this sort of like mini series on Patreon
is Texas.
Exactly.
Nice.
No, I think the whole thing is going to be just like, you know, sharing a record that I really like that I don't get to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to do something. There's going to be at least some things that connect for both of y'all.
Yeah.
When was the last time you listened to it?
3 days ago.
Nice.
All right.
It was funny because Jen and I were driving and I put this on and I was like, dang, okay, so we just decided that we're going to do this for the Patreon. And I know I like shouldn't listen until we do it, but I already know it's going to be a bop for me because this is a record that I will say I listen to in full probably like 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Steady
Like
rotation.
from front to back. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always in my rotation.
And it's a long record, isn't it? It's like
It
53
kind of
minutes.
is. It's like 56 minutes or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
So you
I
must
know.
really like it.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't
If
that
it's a
wild?
long one
I know
like
it's
that,
not
and
an
you're-
EP.
that says a lot, actually.
Yeah, I really like it. I will say, before we get into it, "Sea Anemone" is one of the best fucking songs I've ever heard, and I will listen to that
Okay.
on
I
repeat.
love that as a name for a song.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
great.
It's so good. And lyrically, that song is so good. Everything about it. So, I know you guys don't have much in terms of context, but I'm hoping, especially since I found out that the guy that produced this produced AB Life, that
Oh, yeah.
that there are going to be some things that you guys kind of latch onto.
Yeah, man. I'm intrigued.
So I guess I have to ask you: what do you predict? Is it going to be a flop or a bop? And remember, our friendship hangs in the balance.
I'm gonna say I think it's gonna just like tiptoe over the bop line for me.
Yeah, TJ,
That's my guess.
I think you're gonna love like half of it.
But I think from what you told me and like from what I know about you, kind of like why you tend to like a lot of the bands and artists that you do, I feel like enough of that, like that juice, that like Kylan vibe juice, is gonna be in this record for me to
Yeah.
also be like, I like this. I think it's gonna just like put it into Bop Town.
Yeah, I think it's barely gonna be a bop
Mhm.
for you. Josh, I have no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious of. Like, I was like, what would you guess would be our final verdicts?
I think it's also gonna barely be a bop for you, but for different reasons.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I'm a little bit worried that you guys are gonna get bored with this,
That wow,
Wouldn't
which
that
is
be,
valid.
like,
what
so
is
ironic?
Yes.
Like you,
I
like
know.
you're the
I
guy
know.
that's always getting bored, and a lot of times Josh and I are like, no, it's great. Like, stick with it, and you're like, no, but I'm bored.
Well,
Wouldn't it
that-
be like poetic?
That's why I'm excited to do this series.
we're just
I'm
Secular
hoping
James
for
Kylan
like
is a completely different
It's
listener.
a different ball game, man.
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, I'm thinking with like this series can maybe give listeners like a little bit more context of like the kind of things that we listen to regularly that
Oh yeah.
and why we enjoy them. So,
Mhm.
so Josh, what do you
Oh
think?
yeah.
Flop or bop?
I think it'll be a bop. I am very intrigued about like learning more about this era of music and like your emo masterclass. And I don't know much about like Texas is the Reason, and I've listened to a little bit of Mineral, but I'm like, as I like have gotten further back into like Jimmy Eat World's like discography, I'm like, I want to dive into more of that 90s emo.
Okay, if you
scene
like
and all this
early
stuff.
Jimmy Eat World, I think you're gonna like most of this record.
Yeah, I've really been loving Static
Oh,
Prevails this
right.
year. So
Yeah,
which
okay.
previously I never was really into, but I kind of am in that.
So you're
90s
like
emo thing.
primed.
I feel like
Oh,
this is
man.
the perfect time for me to jump into this record and like be like,
Hell
okay,
yeah.
cool. So
Mm.
I'm excited to learn more about it in general, regardless of whether I like it or not. But I think because you like it so much and I'm intrigued with this era in music, I think it should be a bop.
Sweet. Okay.
Nice.
Well, I think that's it. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we will deep dive into 1998's Orange Rhyming Dictionary by Jets to Brazil.
On Secular Jams now.
It's so edgy. Welcome back to Secular Jams Now.
Secular Jams now.
You did this on part A, right? Where we're like super edgy in a
We're
morning
real
radio
gritty.
show.
I don't even care.
I don't give a
Secular
flip.
Jams now.
Bow, bow, bow.
Jets to Brazil.
On my taxable income, I rounded down.
Can we do an entire, like, as part of the CJN multiverse, do an entire real episode? Okay, if we talked about potentially at some point in the future redoing Jesus Freak, can we redo all of Jesus Freak as like a morning? I will get like a soundboard and we'll do like a morning zoo shock jock
Only if we also
version.
do like a NPR late night version
Oh,
of
yes.
another episode. So.
Okay, so this is Church Jams Now. We are
Wow.
talking about the Newsboys record, Step Right Up to the Microphone.
That
Stepping
grunge
right
guitar
up
comes
to the
really right in
microphone.
front and just grabs you.
I think those drums
This
are overcompressed.
this episode has been brought to you by viewers like you and the new show, Wholesome Olsons, this Wednesday.
If you'd like to support our program, we have knapsacks for sale with our new NPR-styled logo.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm totally doing an NPR ripoff CJN logo, and we're gonna sell tote bags. All right. Anyway, welcome back to Secular Jams Now. We're gonna deep dive on 1998's Orange Rhyming Dictionary by Jets to Brazil.
Mm.
I'm a little nervous, guys. This is like, you know, like when you show a significant other like a movie or a TV show that you think is really funny, and then you just like stare at them, be like, do you think this is funny the way that I think it's funny?
You should be laughing right now. Why aren't
Right.
you?
That's a little bit how I feel. So before we like dive in, do you guys have any like general thoughts? Anything you want to say, or do you just want to go for it?
I'm just gonna make it sweat a little bit on how I feel about this record.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like whatever I would say would actually be better in context with the music. So
I know.
Same.
I
You know what I
feel
mean?
like I feel like I've gotten
sometimes
into
there
this,
are things.
I feel like I've gotten into this habit of in part B asking like for general thoughts, but yeah, it makes more sense to just like have the context surrounding each song. So
Sometimes
yeah.
there's stuff we want to get out there in front, but I feel like in this
But
case.
apparently not now on my favorite record of all time.
Well,
Thanks,
what do
guys.
you want to say about it? You got anything that you didn't get in on part A?
No,
that
I'm
you
not going
wanna-
to tell you because you don't know if it's going to be a flop or a bop. See, that's the whole problem with the general thoughts.
Yeah, they have to be very general.
Right.
Very.
It's like this is
in
an
order to
album
not show your hand. This is
that
music,
came out. This
that
is music.
we have listened
and
to.
we listen to it.
Maybe
Here's
once,
track one,
maybe
Crown of the
twice.
Valley.
That high, whatever that high guitar thing is, that I don't like that. That was very scary for me, for my ears,
too
the
much?
first time through. Yeah, I was like, is that supposed to be there? What's happening? But then when it drops down,
Right.
that works. That's great.
I was not expecting this to be so upbeat and kind of jammy.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Jammy is
This
the word.
whole album is jammy as fuck,
Jammy.
dude. That wah guitar is super fun. This reminded me of the Audio Adrenaline record that we covered.
Yes, it's
If
a
we're
lot
tying it
like
back-
Chevette.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
That's exactly what I wrote. If we're tying it back to CJN World,
Mm-hmm.
felt very similar to Chevette, like the guitar
Mhm.
tone and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was like super groovy. The wah guitar is really fun.
And even like the droney, kind of when they do those long whole notes, like that's a lot
Mhm.
like Audio A. It's kind of a
Yeah.
signature move.
This brought up for me. Okay, so I've never really paid attention to the lyrics of this record for being one of my favorite records, but
Okay.
you guys
That's
know
good
that. So
context.
I get
Yeah.
that.
So I will say, I will give a disclaimer for you guys, because I listen to all the lyrics on the record this time, and I've mentioned many times that this is one of my favorite records. I promise that I'm okay.
That's good. I appreciate.
I just want to
hearing
let
that.
you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
know
That's helpful.
That's good.
because this record gets really dark,
It does.
but I'm okay. I promise.
That's good.
This isn't a cry for help.
Maybe a little, but
A cry to
Everything I
listen to
do.
this album.
exactly. Yeah, so something about the lyrics of this song like really brought up for me. I feel like around this time, like the mid to late 90s, there was a really big like this pastiche of like 1950s and like Cold War era imagery in lyrics and in music and in entertainment. You know, like Brendan Fraser's like Blast from the Past, movie was kind of like this. I don't know if you guys have seen the music video for Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden, but it's like it feels like this really 90s thing
I've
of
seen
taking
the
like
Buddy Holly music video. Does that fit into your? That was like
yes,
what's happening
Yeah.
in the 70s. I guess it was like later. It wasn't the 50s.
but it was a 70s take on the 50s. Yeah, the time is cyclical. Everything's made up. But yeah, there's this whole vibe of like, hey, let's like digitally enhance all of the colors and everything, but take
Yes.
this like 1950s, but like make it feel neon.
Hyper realistic,
Like a John Waters kind of like thing where it's like, let's use the facade of like a 1950s housewife to highlight everything that was like fucked up about our society. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like the lyrics of this song like really kind of fit within that.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I wasn't kind of approaching the lyricism in the song that way, but now that you say it, it's like I can see the imagery, like the ice cream reference and
Right. It feels like a lot of like 50s kind of like
the maid.
suburbia references.
yeah, for sure.
I just also I like the lyrics. So I didn't realize until way later in the song, but I think with Blake Schwarzenbach, he's almost got kind of like a Beck thing in that sometimes the actual words aren't as important as how the syllables like fit together almost.
Yeah, it's more about the cadence.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the feel.
And I'm way about like I love the line cocktail revisionists. That just like
That's a
sounds
great.
cool.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
stuck out to me. I was like,
Uh,
I want to understand that more. Like,
But
but
I don't
like
think
the
you're
way
supposed
it
to.
hits.
I think if you approach it the way like listening to like Beck, I think it won't be as like confusing.
There's a lot of that on this record, like lyrics that I keyed into and I liked a lot, but I'm like, do I know what this means? No. Do I like? Could I dig into it? Probably, but I just really like that. Like,
right,
I like
but it
how
just
you
like
structured
sounds
that
cool and
line.
like yeah.
Yeah, I was not expecting for lyrics. I was not expecting this song and this record to be so wordy. Like he is singing a lot of the time.
He is
and it's
very
like
wordy.
New verses, like new choruses, like yeah, I was expecting a lot more like musical space like you find on kind of like regular like 90s emo records.
Right.
Yeah, so I was very surprised at that, especially
But especially
you
for like
being
how
such
jammy,
a non-lyrics guy.
Right. Yeah. But I feel like he uses lyrics and his vocal similar to like an instrument and just kind of how it fits in with like everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's filling sonic space in a more vibe capacity. than
exactly.
In like a thematic or message
Yep.
centric way.
This song was the first of many that has some sweet, sweet bass.
All right. I was wondering
This-
how long it would take for you to bring that up.
Is
First track.
Dude, this is a sweet, sweet bass record.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that more. Do you guys have anything else on this song in particular?
It opened the record really well. Good energy.
Yeah. Solid
I thought
opener.
so. And then I thought it transitioned really well into track number 2, Morning New Disease.
Morning new disease, trouble in bed. Bone soaked, anemic, listening horror to the scraping of flatware and china.
There are a couple really good transitions between tracks on this record. And I thought this one was really good. I will say that guitar line in the beginning is really obnoxious.
Okay, this intro could be a Norma Jean song on Bless the Martyr.
It totally
Like,
could,
the
yes.
dissonant guitars, but also that drum beat is very Bless the Martyr. So I was like, wow, this
Oh my
could
God,
totally
yeah.
be on there.
That's so good.
It's almost like, because it, like the kind of drony, angular sounds of it made me think of Interpol, actually. But like more metal, obviously.
Right.
So it's almost like
Metal
Norma
Interpol.
Jean meets Interpol. I don't know.
That's so good. I have 2 notes on this. One is a really big note. And by note, I mean a request. Listening to this song, TJ, I feel like Sooth could do a really fucking awesome cover of this song.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like melodically and musically, it kind of fits within, to me, my interpretation of like the Sooth oeuvre. I think you could do a really good job of it. Not that you would want to, but if you ever did want
You
to,
felt so inclined.
you would do a really good job at it. I think your voice would fit on this really well. I think the way that you
Interesting.
play would fit along with this really well.
Like the way I play guitar.
Yeah, I think so. I think just I think like some of the chord choices and stuff just kind of like fit within, and the way that the vocal fits within the melody. It weirdly reminded me of Sooth like quite a bit.
That's so fascinating to me. I have so many thoughts and I don't even know how to like.
You should take it as a compliment, but I would understand if you didn't.
Well, here's the thing. I don't like this song very much. So that's like so interesting. But like, I don't know. You're challenging my initial take on the song. Like maybe I need to give it a few more listens and like dig
To be
into it a little
fair,
more.
like
Because I love that you thought of that. That's the
in
coolest.
terms of like songs on this record, I don't. This is maybe my least favorite.
Okay.
But I think what I mean by that is like I think you could elevate this into something like really interesting and cool.
I would definitely come at it from a very different place, which would be
yeah.
interesting because that's what good covers do, right? Like
Right.
they approach the song from a different perspective.
Yeah.
The writing is like part of why. So like y'all mentioned something that I think is really paramount to this album and the way that anyone listening to it would interpret it or experience it, and that is this kind of like very wordy style that he has. Like what I keep finding with the songs as I'm listening through to this album is that each little piece is really interesting, but I can't make it make sense as a whole. And so that's
Right.
been really difficult for me cognitively or like lyrically. Like I'm having trouble connecting with the songs because I'm like, this idea is cool, this idea is cool, this idea is cool, but all together I can't make them make sense. And y'all made a good point that you're not supposed to like
Yeah. Well, I
just
think
let
that-
it just
that-
wash
that-
over you and be.
I think that's partly why I relate to it so much is because it feels very like he doesn't even bother to like rhyme most of the time. So
Correct.
it feels like
Which is
very
cool.
spoken word or kind of like a very like stream of consciousness
Yes.
kind of writing.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
almost like I feel like I tried to shift gears a little bit once I realized that because I think it took me a few songs to like figure that out, you know.
for sure.
So
for
at this
sure.
point, I was like, I'm trying to make sense of this, and it obviously was like forcing something that is not meant to be forced. So as the album went on, I kind of like learned, I think, a little bit how to like let it wash over me a little more. But so it's
Right.
interesting that this song of all of them, you're like, you could do.
I think you
Interesting.
could, man. I don't
Now,
know what
now
it
you're
is.
almost like you're making me want to try. Like
now
I'm
it's
like,
like,
all right,
you won't
good.
do it. You won't cover it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dare you.
Yeah, exactly.
all right,
It's kinda-
maybe I should.
I will say, everybody take a drink. Not to show my hand too much, but this album, I didn't even realize until this listen through that this is one of those albums that the second half
Side B burner.
is way better than the first half for me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that has something to kind of do with like with what you're saying, TJ, of like the first half of this record is like a little jarring. And then I
Right.
think by the time the second half hits, you've kind of eased into like
you settle into it a little
what
bit.
this thing is.
Yes. Yeah. I
But
think you're
also
right.
I think the second half has a lot more sort of like catchy, more pop kind of stuff. I don't know.
I think
don't
you're
know.
right.
We'll-
I think you're
we'll-
right about that. Yeah.
we'll- yeah, I kind of wish they were flipped.
Yeah.
I
I didn't catch much of the lyrics on like some of the first songs on this record, but this one has like from some of the stuff I was like, these are like 1984-esque lyrics.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. Which I mean,
yeah.
A little
feels-
dystopian.
very of the time, especially like this is what 2 years after OK Computer or something like that kind of thing.
Right.
So
yeah.
Paranoid
There's a lot of
Android,
like
all
an
that.
almost like post-apocalyptic or like
Yep.
cyberpunk dystopian kind of vibe to a lot of this,
Mm-hmm.
especially the first half. Yeah, it feels like the first half and the second half are almost two different records, and the first half feels like a dystopian concept record.
Yeah, yeah, because
I
I,
can see
feel like
that.
even carries into the next song before we get into that. But Resistance is Futile is the next song, so
That one is
Like,
the most sort of like narrative.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. I have one lyric note that I will do before my other note, but he has a line: "I'm dreaming of a life, and it's not the life that's mine. In a stolen car, I rocket west out past that Jersey line."
There's Jersey Line.
And I was
yeah.
like, man, is he making a Bruce Springsteen reference right now? Because we all knew Bruce Springsteen is from Jersey, and he has a song on 1980's The River called Stolen Car,
Yep.
where in the lyrics he has, in Bruce's song is, I'm driving a stolen car on a pitch black night, and I'm telling myself I'm going to be all right. But I ride by night and I travel in fear that in this darkness I will disappear. And I'm like, these are kind of like two
It
similar
feels-
kind of
yes.
ideas.
I
like,
can, with 99% certainty, guarantee you that Blake Schwarzenbach wrote
a
that
boss
as
guy?
reference to Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
yeah, like just that line. I'm like, that could be a Bruce Springsteen lyric.
That's
like,
the thing is like, so I only picked up on a couple, but there are like 1,000 like you could do an entire dissertation on references from this album.
yes.
Hmm.
I have a big note for one later.
He references a ton of stuff, books and movies and life events and stuff. Like, yeah, it's a super like referential record.
Which also
It
kind
just
of
makes sense for a dictionary.
connects why
you,
you,
you define
would like
things
it, kind
in a
of.
dictionary.
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, that's
No.
true.
My last note for this one was like, I seriously asked this question because I don't know. I never listened to any Jawbreaker, but I was listening to this and I'm like, is he like British? Is he?
Oh my god. Okay, this is a huge note that I had later on too.
Yes.
Because
and
I
had
never
to look
realized it.
up
He's no,
because
he's
I was
not.
like, is he? But he's
No.
not.
He's not.
No,
he's
he's
not.
But
not.
it
Okay.
sounds like he's singing in a British
Yeah.
accent.
His
I had this on a later song. I didn't realize until this record how fake British he sounds.
Mhm.
And then it like really hit me. I was having this really long conversation with Jen about this to kind of bring it back to like Interpol. There is a big like there was this big wave in the late 90s, early 2000s of like punk bands and punk adjacent bands doing this almost like faux British invasion kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I thought that was really funny when compared to like all of the West Coast pop punk bands doing the like Tom DeLonge like surfer dude nasal thing, like the "Where are you?" and or they were like fake British, like "Where are you?" And I feel like that was the real East Coast West Coast beef.
yeah.
It was a lot less hip hop and a lot more pop punk. Yeah, he's not British.
Yeah, he's
Weird
not. But I
affix.
could, after the first couple songs, I would have been like, oh, interesting. He's British punk emo rock guy.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all these dudes that like are, you know,
He's listening to the Clash, and he's like,
I was gonna
wanna
say
sound
like
them.
10 years removed from the Clash and the Smiths and everything.
Yeah, it almost
that's
feels
what
like
they are.
Morrissey. It's like
Mhm.
what like I would love to talk to some of those people and be like, why did this happen? Like where did that what was the impetus of this?
Does he sing like this in Jawbreaker?
Jawbreaker is a little more screamy, but yeah, his voice is kind of like his voice. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those guys. Like he's also got a very distinct voice. I wanted to ask y'all, like, how do you feel about his voice? He's kind of got one of those like Elvis Costello, love it or hate it
Yeah, it's very
kind
distinct.
of voices.
I found myself enjoying it mostly. I really thought it was cool. Like I appreciated what he was doing vocally
Yeah.
throughout the album. So
Yeah, he
That
doesn't
was
have the
rad.
best voice, but he's got charisma, so I don't. mind
Yeah.
it.
yeah, lots of character, which I can
Yeah.
appreciate.
Sweet. Well, I think that's all we got for Morning New Disease. Let's move on to track number 3. Resistance is futile.
It is. It really is.
There's glass in this rug, tiny splinters pass, all just missiles to bloodstream, lead and water.
This felt like a Pixies song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realized this drum beat I have been ripping off for over 12 years. This is like my drum beat.
Now that you say it, I can imagine you sitting behind a kit playing this right now.
Yes, exactly. Like no matter what, if I sit behind a kit, and TJ, I was just telling Josh, the drum beat on this song, I have ripped off for like the past 12 years.
Oh yeah, completely.
This is like if I sit behind a kit, I'm doing that where it's like one bar of that kind of standard like you hit the snare on the 3 and then on the second bar you hit the snare on the 4. So you have that way that do do da do 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 da.
Ah,
Like
Yep.
yeah. Oh, I love it so much. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It is really great because it's like the first time you hear it, you're like, what? Did he mess that up? And the second time you hear
Right.
it, you're like, what was that? And then by the third time, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So it like
feels
it's like
so good.
it keeps you locked in like as a
Mhm.
listener, the drum pattern. I dig that.
Yeah, I'm not usually a big like phaser or chorus sound on the guitar guy.
Mm.
I apparently wrote phaser on guitar kind of girl, but I meant guy. uh, but it works here. It works on this song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and introduces a new like sonic texture that we haven't had. So that's
Mhm.
nice.
I rather this song feels right at home on the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, especially like this
yeah.
part that wee wee wee. Like
Uh-huh.
it fits within that vibe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And with the bass being kind of dancey, like it's very
The what?
active. The bass.
The what?
The bass.
The sweet sweet bass, because that's
The
what I
sweet
wrote.
bass. It's like so busy, and that
I
feels,
know,
very.
but it
Scott
needs
Pilgrim.
to hold it down because I feel like the guitars are really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was like the catchiest of the first 3 songs. Like this
Yep.
was like
Mhm.
when I was like, okay, cool, I'm digging this chorus.
This felt like Audio Adrenaline too.
Yes. The lyrics were a little like, I don't know, like we said, it's like very sort of apocalyptic or dystopian. It's like Big Brother conspiracy theory kind of feeling. And at the point that it comes, it's like it hit me, it felt a little heavy-handed, I guess. Like I was like, okay, I get it. Like that chorus or the refrain or whatever it is, like you're never too small for our attention. You watch TV while we watch you. It's like, I don't know. It's a cool idea, but I guess I got tired of it. Maybe I'm Kylan today. Like,
Okay,
I just
but
got kind of bored. I was
if
like,
if you took out the word shit, could you not see lyrically this being a Newsboys song from this era?
totally,
It could
completely.
100% be a Newsboys song.
Yes,
That's true.
absolutely. Yeah, the
But,
like
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
reference
They're
and
like,
They just have to, instead of saying shit, they just have to change it to oi.
get this
get
oi
this
out of
oi
my
out of my head.
Yes, exactly. But this totally could. It reminded me of like early Newsboys and stuff too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. Do we have anything else for this? All right, let's move on to track number 4, Starry Configurations.
Starry configurations. I'm just a receiver. Divine recombinations. I'm just a recordist. Receptionist. Unhappy medium. Receptionist. Unhappy medium. Excellent.
I like the dynamic shift happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. So this was my favorite song on the front half of the album.
Cool.
All right.
I have sort of a favorite from the front and then a favorite on the B side.
Sweet.
Sweet.
I like that they took it down. At
Me
this
too. I
point.
think it
Agreed.
needed it.
It definitely did.
Yeah, I feel like this album flows like really well. I love how this album feels really real to me. Part of what I like. Like it doesn't feel
How do you mean?
like it doesn't like I don't know. Like you can kind of you can pick out the bass parts, you can pick out the guitar parts, you can pick out the drum parts.
Oh,
it
like
doesn't
from a
feel very,
production
like-
standpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like you can kind of feel everyone playing this in like a Brooklyn loft in 1997. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not a lot of like overdubs and
Yeah,
you
it
know,
sounds like you
digital
would hear it live.
manipulation. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
does feel very live. Yeah.
But I like the mix a lot. I like how like you can pick everything out like
yeah, there's
really
good
easily.
separation.
Like so they are a 3-piece, but Jay Robbins, the producer, did do like additional guitars and stuff.
I saw that.
And you can hear that like every now and then. But yeah, it does have a real kind of like live feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I like the receptionist unhappy medium line that
Mhm.
always sticks out in my brain.
Yeah, I thought that was some good.
Unhappy
writing.
medium. That feels very Morrissey.
And I like the
Yes.
idea of like excellent accommodations, but I'm just a bellboy. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that is a very Morrissey line. Now that you said that, I'm like, yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
After you see the hairdresser on fire, then you're like, I'm just a bellboy, unhappy medium.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
I like that this song essentially has like 2 bridges. It's got like a kind of outro that feels like a second bridge.
Right.
Yeah, I like this song a lot.
I think it's like the most. It's like finally the reprieve that I needed to start wrapping my head around what's happening lyrically, like this kind of collage style lyricism where it's just like little like cool idea after cool idea. But it was like this one where I finally realized like this is how to experience this album, is to like let the images wash over you and not try to piece them together and make like a greater
Right. Yeah. No,
cohesive
I think
message.
collage is like a really good term
Yeah.
for that.
And that writing style, it was like this song because it was a little less chaotic, and it started mellow and then builds. So I had enough
Right.
time as a listener to wrap my head around all of that and be like, okay, like you're saying, there's good separation. I could hear all the parts. Yeah, this was like a strong moment for me in the album where I was like,
Mhm.
I feel like I see what you're doing as a band here the most.
Yeah. Yeah, like lyrically it feels almost more like a dream journal.
Yeah.
Like he wrote like in a dream journal and then kind of like just had like bullet points and then just kind of like tried to put them together
Yeah.
in a song,
A little
like in
slapdash.
one go in one.
Like, just,
Yeah,
like,
but
throw this here.
Yeah,
And it can work. Yeah. Like, I think this song is proof that that style of writing is kind of interesting and like
for sure.
can be effective.
Yeah. You guys got anything else about Starry Configurations? All right,
Nope.
let's move on to track number 5, Chinatown, which I think is their most streamed song.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Candle is blue, could see me through. I'm colorblind. They tell me it's blue. I'm a believer. That's why I'm blind.
Can I paint a picture for y'all?
Please.
Oh, paint away.
Tell you, just get you really describe the setting. So I threw this record on a couple nights ago, and I'm like in the kitchen, like cleaning up some stuff, getting lunch ready for the next day and whatnot, just jamming. I have my phone set on the counter as I'm going around. I'm like digging into the record, experiencing it for this first time. This song comes on, and I'm like, oh heck yeah! Like this intro, I'm like, this is what I'm wanting from this
Right,
record.
right.
Like, this was what I was expecting. This is what I want to hear. And I go over because I always like to know the song titles for some
Uh-huh.
reason. I've always been that way. I go over and I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is the most popular song, and I felt so basic. But
But
as
there's
soon
a
as
reason
this intro
for
came
it,
in, I was like,
though.
Yeah.
yes, this is
Yeah.
what I want.
That yeah, exactly. Like and this is the start of like honestly, like I love tracks 1 through 4. If I'm doing an alternate track list, I think you could cut those and the album would ultimately be better. This song, yeah, especially that guitar tone right in the beginning is just so good. It's like
So
reminiscent of like early Death Cab kind of those like kind of like arpeggiated
Oh,
like picking
yeah.
kind of lines.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
Feels
reminded
like
me of
real,
something and I could not place it. Like I
Kinda
could
like
almost
something
hear
about
some other
Airplanes
lyrics
era.
Yes.
coming
exactly.
on top of like coming in, like that intro would play and then someone was gonna like sing some lyrics over it. I was like, it was
Right.
so like familiar sounding.
Like if he sang an
Mhm.
octave higher and his vocal was doubled, it would be a Death Cab song. Like
Mhm.
like something about airplanes or something.
yeah, or a photo album or something like
And
that.
no British affect.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
so funny.
Totally good.
Man, I have a lot of notes on this song. Sorry, you go
Sweet.
for it,
I know.
Kyle.
I'm excited to hear him. I feel like I'm talking
Okay.
too much, and I want to hear.
Okay, so one thing, like I said, I was a little thrown off by how wordy all this was. I wasn't expecting it to be that wordy, and I kind of wanted it to be a little less wordy. But this song strikes like that great balance where there's like a lot of musical breaks, and that's what I was like
Yep.
expecting and wanting from this record. And this song is like has all of it. It has an intro, and then they just like spend some time going into it. I have a lot about lyrics, but I said it, when he doesn't sing in an accent, it sounds awkward when he says stuff like firefighters and really pronounces the R's
right.
when
Yeah.
he hasn't this whole record.
Firefighters,
But so
right.
that was funny. But like this one has like so many cool lyrics that I just love. Like where I'm like, I don't even like, I can just leave it at like me acknowledging that this is a really cool lyric just because of how it's structured. Like, and I don't need to dig into anything past that. But A couple I have are believe everything, you'll be right half the time.
I wrote that. That's the one lyric note that I wrote. That's
I
just
love
such
that.
a good line.
That is a good line.
I love that
Believe-
one until I heard the chorus where he said, "I'm just a question, knowing my answer. Hope I'm wrong." I love stuff like
Yeah,
that. That's
Yeah,
a great
that's
line.
pretty good
That's
too.
so good.
And
That's so
then
good.
the most of the killers never get famous, and it's hard on everyone. Like,
Yeah,
that's
so
a
good.
great line too. There's a lot
So
to
good.
unpack. Did you look up anything for the lyrics like on Genius or anything?
Well, I actually have a really funny note. I looked on songmeanings.com where anyone can just comment. And Guy, let me tell you, don't do that. Because the comments were
Go
just
on.
cracking me up. Because all of the comments were like, literally, these are actual comments. I think he's referencing the movie Chinatown. I don't know. I haven't seen it. And there was one that said, yeah, I think he's referencing the movie Chinatown. It's been a long time. It's a really boring movie, if I remember. I'm like, well,
Aw.
what are you adding to the conversation here? Like,
Man,
because he's not referencing the movie Chinatown. There's nothing about this song that is a reference to the Roman Polanski movie Chinatown.
that's funny because the Genius lyrics say that it is a reference to Chinatown, and I'm like, maybe I can't.
Maybe.
Which I don't know, but let me tell you, I recently watched through in my AFIs. I had seen Chinatown. I watched it for the first time.
What'd you
That
think?
was one of
by the
my
way?
favorite movies.
It's so
Of-
good, right?
Of all the movies, like of the new AFI movies that I've watched, like the 55 or so, that's in my top
Yeah.
3. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's the best movie directed by a child molester of all time.
Dang, take that, Woody Allen.
Yeah.
No, it's so good. I rewatched
well
it again
acknowledged.
this year. Well, that Robert Towne script is just awesome, but it's so
It's
hard
so-
to like try to explain. It's like it's a detective movie about like Los Angeles water politics.
stealing
It's just
water?
like- it sounds, but it's so good.
It
It's
is
so
great.
so
I
good.
loved it. Yes. So highly recommended. So that like imagery just kind of like already made me like, I think a little prone to liking this song.
Right.
If I may kind of go on a long tangent or I read something, if that's cool.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like just looking at the lyrics and
I
this
hope
is
it's about what I
annotated.
think it's about.
Okay. The line, last of the pictures,
Yes,
catfish
okay.
done hunting, Harry Lunt. Okay.
Yes. Please
All right.
explain, because I have all this in my notes, but
Okay.
I
I'm just
wanna
going to
hear you
be
talk about it.
reading like verbatim from that. Okay. So that line, like already last of the pictures, catfish done hunting, Harry Lunt, which I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, but it's notated on there. And spoilers, it's kind of a bummer story. But the annotation says this whole line is a baseball reference, specifically a sad part of baseball history. Harry Lunt was the player who came into the game for Ray Chapman, who in 1920 was killed taking a pitch to the head. Lunt replaced him for the rest of the game. The catfish done hunting line is a reference to Catfish Hunter, a famous MLB pitcher, hammering home the thematic reference. The point of the verse is that Blake references Lunt, who replaced Chapman, and not Carl Mays, the pitcher who threw the pitch that killed him, referencing the line, most of the killers never get famous. It hints at the frightening part of the, in quotes, next man up mentality that society, in parentheses, in baseball, has. We quickly forget the hero and the villain of the story and only remember the most visible person in the aftermath. And I was like, whoa. Like, even if, like,
Wow.
obviously it's referencing that, but, like, that's a crazy, like, history that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And so that just gives the song, like, a lot more depth, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. So I did find one comment on the song meanings thing that I don't know. There's no fact checking for this, but this one guy called Weblands on songmeanings.com commented 15 years ago on the Chinatown song and wrote something similar, but he said
15. Wow.
the reference to Harry Lunt is from a trivia question that I asked Blake when he was playing with my son Adam in Jawbreaker. So I think this is Adam Fowler from Jawbreaker. I think that's his dad.
That's crazy.
And then he goes on to like kind of explain. He said they There was one Major League Baseball player killed while playing a game by a pitch ball. Who was he? Who threw the pitch? And who ran for the dead batter? Answer, Ray Chapman was killed by a pitch thrown by Carl Mays, and Harry Lunt ran for the mortally wounded Chapman. The question demonstrates that the game/show goes on. I think that's Blake's thinking, but go figure. I told him who Harry Lunt was, and he used it in his own way. That's why he's Blake. And that just feels like such a dad answer.
Such a
That's
dad.
why he's
That
Blake.
I'm inclined to believe that this guy is like telling the truth, because this is the only comment he's ever made on this website.
Well, who else would
Um,
like claim to be like this other guy's like dad? Like be like, oh yeah, I told
Right,
him that my
right.
son when they're in
It's
this
such a
band.
specific lie.
I know,
If it
so
is
I
a
thought that
lie.
was really funny that he told Blake this like trivia story, and then
he's
it
just like
turned into
laughing
this.
about the fact that he decided to put it into a song.
Right.
That's why
I
he's
just-
Blake.
Right. I just thought that was really funny.
Which, just for like historical clarification, it wasn't like the guy got hit by the pitch and died on the spot, and they just kept the baseball game going. Because I was like, holy crap! Like,
Right.
Yeah,
that's heartless.
crazy.
He like got taken to a hospital and then died like 12 hours later or whatever, which obviously still sucks. But I was like, okay, like they didn't just be like, well, this guy's gonna pinch hit for this guy that just got
Right,
yeah,
right.
that's
killed.
dead on the
So,
baseball field.
yeah,
that would be
so,
so
yeah.
like dark.
Yes, but I mean, it's already a dark story. It's a bummer story. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had that in your notes, because I had all that in my notes too.
Okay,
so.
perfect. Yes. So that was a bummer story, but I still love that song. Like
Yeah.
I
song's
was
so
digging
good.
on it. I think this is my favorite song on the record. Which I'm like-
Really?
I feel so
Basic bitch.
I'm so basic for it, but that's everything I'm wanting in a song. Like the balance of the musical breaks to like the great lyrics that just like stick with you. Like yeah.
Sweet. Well, let's move on to track number 6, Sea Anemone.
The curtains of sea anemone in the way it sways to the slow breeze. I lie spread out on the floor, looking at these things. Most of them are yours, and it's so nice sitting very still.
Spoiler, this is my favorite song on the record.
This is a great song.
This is one of my favorite songs of all time. The way that he plays
Wow.
that guitar, yes, it like this song in particular is on my rotation at least once a month.
That's crazy.
Great song title too.
Yeah,
You're
And
gonna
it's
name
so
your song
good,
Sea
and-
Anemone. I'll listen to it.
it's but like the guitar tone and the way he plays it, that it's just like that's just like all I want in a song, man. It's just like it hits me in exact, like it just scratches all my pleasure centers in my brain. And lyrically, I really like it because it's really evocative. Like I can see this scene like a movie in like an old, like a guy in like an old motel room, like chain smoking cigarettes.
Well, this was the first point in the record where I felt like he was getting personal with the lyrics, and that drew me in
Exactly.
a lot.
Mm.
Because I was like, okay, it seems like you're not singing about the government watching you while you're watching TV or whatever. Like,
Right,
I was like,
right.
okay, cool. You're like, this is coming from somewhere real. So yeah, that automatically draws you in.
The one line, and it's so nice, sleeping here all alone with my ashtray, white courtesy telephone. That's like a line that my wife and I reference all the time, because that to me hits that perfect balance of like, this feels really personal, but also just like the syllables and the cadence of that just like
Mhm.
hits perfectly. Yeah.
Like with
it's
the
so good.
triplets, like
Yeah,
Da-
white
da- da-
courtesy
da- 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 da.
telephone. Yeah, just hits so good, and I can just see it in my brain. Like
Well,
I can just
and that's
see that scene.
yes, that's a lot of what
Mhm.
he does in the lyrics of like being so descriptive in it, and that is something that Matt Berninger from The National talks about, like in a lot of the ways that he writes his songs. Like a lot of the times he's like, he will just like paint a picture just because it paints such like a specific picture in your mind. It doesn't have to matter, like, but it's like that's what he wants to do, and that's what
Right.
you remember. So it's like
Mhm.
white courtesy telephone, like you're like, you automatically think of something. It's not just a line you're just gonna be like, oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. Like I don't know,
Right.
that just puts like you can see it on like the table, and then you're like, okay, what else is in this room now that I'm already
Right,
looking
exactly.
at the
That's the thing
phone?
is like
Yeah.
I see this whole room in my mind, and this feels like a short story or like a short film in a way that I just love.
Yes,
TJ,
for
you're
sure.
very quiet. You hate this song, right?
No, I
It's fine. It's okay.
sonically I don't like it.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah, really. I think I don't know why. I just like couldn't. I think this was a moment where like I like his vocal style in general, but I was like having trouble appreciating it with this mellow instrumentation happening behind it. But now you're making me want to listen to the guitar more because I didn't really hook into the guitar, and you
The
were like
guitar's the best part
you're
of this song,
praising
man.
it so much. So I need to
Throughout
go
the
spend
whole
some more time with
thing.
the guitar. But I was actually quiet, not because I don't like it, but because I was trying to wrap my brain around this story, this short story that you're describing, and trying
Yeah.
to see it. I've got the lyrics in front of me, and I'm trying to like piece it together, which helps me understand and appreciate the song more. So it wasn't being quiet because I'm
No, I know. I'm just
not excited. It's quiet because I'm actually really like I'm hooked in. I want this to be a music video directed by Kyle and Savage.
right. I just see like an old like 60s motel room,
Totally.
just filled with smoke, just reeks of smoke, and you see like a dude just like hungover. He's probably been living there for weeks.
Yep.
And he's just, and the way that he describes these things and like relates it back to like these sea creatures, like the curtains of sea anemone, starfish with its arms out in a daze is like him, turtle on its back in the desert sea. Like it just like it feels like a Miami 60s motel. It just
Mhm.
it's so vibe heavy. It's just I'm just picking up on vibes on this song, man.
Yeah. Also, I like that line, waiting on a sign from God or a nod from hell.
That's a
Yeah,
good one.
that's so good. That's so good.
Great line.
Yep. I really like, Kylan, you're talking about like the main guitar riff, but I do love like the double stop guitar part that comes
Mhm.
in like 240 and then in the outro. Like that's a nice, I feel like there's not a ton of like secondary guitar parts or like extra like lead or melody lines, but like that's a really good one. And then I did notice that I think the snare is like panned left in this song, at least in
Mhm.
the beginning. And I was like, that's odd, but
Yeah.
it's like the rest of the drums are like as normal as you would expect, but the snare's off to the left. Which I thought
Yeah,
was
so good.
interesting.
That is
And
interesting.
especially I feel like for how busy the first part of the record is, this to me feels like the first like real chance to like breathe, and it's just so simple. And this
Yeah.
really kicks
Mhm.
off, like I said, like the second half of the record that I just love.
Mm. So you see this as like track one on side B.
Yes,
Gotcha.
for sure. All right, let's move on to track number 7, Lemon Yellow Black.
You half the math, double the myth. They told you to. No aftertaste, no residue. Chop chop, you're through. A good photo taker, that's what it takes to make it. It's up to you. Unflinching trigger finger.
I like this one. It picks up nicely after the two slower jams that preceded it in a good way. It doesn't just like
Mhm.
blast
Bringing the
into
energy
it.
back.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah.
real like late 90s pop,
Yes.
like pop rock.
Yeah, I think I wrote. Oh yeah, this. I don't mean this disparagingly at all, but it's like it made me think of like the transition music on like Drake and Josh or something.
That's funny. That's really funny.
I loved that show
Yeah, yeah. No, I
I
can
mean
see
that
that.
in a good
Yeah,
way.
I can see that. Yeah, this feels real like yeah, like you could definitely use any musical moment from this song as like transition music
Right.
on like a mid 2000s like
Yeah,
Nickelodeon sitcom.
exactly. It's like trying to feel a little edgy, but it's like a little California. But
Yeah.
it's just like good vibes. Like, and that chorus feels like Weezer, which is
Mhm.
awesome. Like, I don't know how they were informed maybe by them, but
I mean they were all like yeah, when was that first Weezer record?
94.
94.
Pinkerton
That's
was
around when like
96.
Jawbreaker was around, yeah.
right. I
So-
wonder if like Jawbreaker, was
So Jawbreaker's from California
right.
and then he moved to New York to do this record. But I don't know, man. This song has more Sweet Sweet Bass. This is my second favorite song on the record.
Nice.
Wow, so you get back-to-back ones.
Yeah, dude. I'll always listen to like these two. But another thing you guys are probably familiar with, like Kylan Savage songwriting, the 1-2-4 chord progression is something that I use, or the 1-2-4 and then back to the 1 is something that I use in like almost every song. For people that don't know, so like in a scale, if you attribute every note in that scale with a number, it goes 1 to 8 or 1 to 7 and then back to 1. And so like the second note is just a step up from the first, and then the 4 is like a really common resolution. So the 1, 2, the 2 gives it a little bit of tension, the 4 kind of resolves, and then it goes. There you go, just like that. It's
Sorry,
something
my
that I
piano's out of
use.
tune.
I use in like most of my songs. So I'm here for all of this.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
It works.
Yeah,
It's just
for
a good
sure.
formula.
Mhm.
It is. It's out of, it's like, yeah, because you're not just using a regular 1, 6, 5, or 4 or something like that. That 2 is a
Mhm.
weird one, but it does draw that tension. I like that
Yeah.
Chris Daly, the drummer, I believe he's a drummer in this band, right, Kylan?
Yep.
He's going to town on this song, and I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like
The
this
drums
one-
are so good on this record, man.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they like I don't know. They're the kind of showy that a lot of like mid '90s like Midwest emo was, but he feels really tight, especially considering how, like I said,
How
kind
jammy
of
and like loose
yeah,
their vibe is. He's a very tight drummer. Yeah, you're right.
exactly. Yeah, I mean he was so good in Texas Is the Reason too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it really holds it all together.
Definitely. My one
great
lyric
ending.
note that I liked is unemployed war heroes hating this peace time. I like that line.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah.
So good. This record is so dark. It's
It
like
is.
so dark.
I haven't even got to the
Ah.
dark stuff yet.
I know, but I love it. All right, let's move on to track number 8, Conrad.
Houndstooth coat, pockets are bulging with Nebutol. Bought from some doctor who also was bought to keep those pockets full. The face was lost, partly recovered. I'm half asleep, having a frenzy. Once I
This feels
tried
like Newsboys, this intro.
Mhm.
Totally.
What's going on with that guitar?
I thought it was just like
Anybody
a
know?
tremolo at first, but then like the speed starts to vary a little bit, and I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
is
it
he
feels-
doing something?
I wrote that too, but
manually?
I think it is, but I think they're not playing with a metronome. I think they're
Oh,
they're
so the-
playing to
So the
tape.
drummer's just speeding up a little bit, like naturally. and-
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
match
I
it.
think I think they did this all to tape, and I think it is just like a tremolo. But yeah, it kind of phases in and out of like the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is based on either a novel or a movie, by the way. I don't know if you guys know. I don't know if you did.
Do we know
any
what
research.
novel or movie?
Yeah. So the thing I couldn't find specifically what Blake was going for, but this was a 1980 movie called Ordinary People, which was Robert Redford's directorial debut. It's
Oh.
a super good movie. It was nominated for like 10 Oscars and shit. It's like so good. It's got like
Wow.
Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore and Timothy Hutton and like all these people. It's super good. It's sort of like the OG Little Miss Sunshine. It's like
Oh.
focused on this like kind of fucked up family, and like the son in the family is named Conrad, and he like just gets out of
Oh.
like a psychiatric hospital because he tried to commit suicide.
Mm.
And then one of his friends, a woman named Beth, she commits suicide in the movie.
Mm.
It's awesome. It's a really, I know I'm not doing a great sell on it, but it's a really, really good movie. It's kind of like a little bit of like a light or like a dark comedy, but it's a mostly pretty dramatic film. But I mean, it's pretty explicit in terms of like the suicide elements and stuff, and
Right.
the character Conrad is like a main character in that. So, but I don't know if he based it on the movie or the novel. Could be either. I really like it. I like the song.
Yeah, I like the song, and then I looked at the lyrics. And I was like, "Oh wow, this is pretty dark."
Yeah. Which is like totally my kind of vibe. You know that.
Mhm.
It's like the whole Ben Gibbard thing too. It's like, let's write the poppiest song we can and talk about some really dark shit.
Yeah, man, that line about the angels, like betting on will they, won't they
Yeah,
in their life, like that is like heavy, man.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I was like, I like, I guess the idea of that, but I don't like the idea of that. But
Right.
I like that you thought of that, but that's not the idea I like. So I'm
Right.
like, oh gosh, but
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it was well written.
Respect the
Got it.
line, don't love the idea.
The whole part, warming her wrists and promising water, somebody's love, another one's daughter, readies herself, apologizing to the motel maids. It's like, fuck, man, that's like very evocative.
Yeah.
Yes. But then it ends like so like I love the instrumental they play for like the outro, and it's like pretty majory and upbeat. Like so, it's like
Right.
it ends kind of like happy sounding, but
Yeah.
after a very dark lyrically song.
Yeah, it is kind of a paradox. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, we got anything else for Conrad?
We haven't gotten to your favorite song on side B yet, have we, TJ?
We have not.
All right.
Okay.
I'm remembering.
Josh, have we gotten to your favorite song?
yeah,
Did we talk about that
Chinatown.
yet?
I'm
Oh,
basic,
that's right.
I'm basic.
But I also like Sea Anemone as well. So I'm
Sea
not
Anemone is so
totally
good. Oh, it's so
basic.
good. It's
So
so
I'm
good.
mostly basic.
The next track is King Medicine.
Tell me how you do that crazy trick when you walk around asleep. Save it for your doctor friend, the one who keeps you under lock and key.
I love this song too, man. This is another one that's like really sad.
Yeah.
This is very obviously about like a friend that's addicted to drugs.
Mm-hmm. It's groovy though, man.
It's got that sweet, sweet bass, that do 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 do,
Mm-hmm.
and then it does the major four to the minor four, which I'm always here for too.
Oh yeah, right.
Love the major to the minor four.
The only notes I
really-
have for this song, sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
I would say the only notes I have for this song are some lyrics that stood out to me. There's just like so much. I feel like this record is very dense, so like only a few listens. I feel like there's like that's not near enough to like dig into it.
That's what I'm talking about. Like we could do like there's like a
so
million
I'm like,
references.
I feel like I'm
and,
only
like,
scratching the
it's like-
surface, and I'm like, I don't know. It just like the way it hits you, and like it just comes at you, and it just like the sound of it all, and just like it is a 3-piece, but there's a lot packed in there musically
Mhm.
and especially lyrically, and just like the overall package that you're like that I was like, oh gosh, like I would have to listen like a lot of times to really like get into like a lot of notes. But like some of the
Yeah.
lyrics that stuck out to me on this one were, why don't you stop dying before you go and get it right, and then now you're selling off the house so you can buy the farm, which I'm like, that's a clever, cool line.
Yeah.
It's dark,
Mhm.
but still.
Right.
Great line. Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Josh. Like that's a good point that other than the little additional guitar that Jay Robbins did, like for a 3-piece, it's a very full sound. It's cool.
Yeah.
Respectable.
Yeah. They all feel like really tight. Like they're all.
Mhm.
It's like it all rides that line between being really flashy
Mhm.
and just like holding down your part and like filling out the sound.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I like he's a little more yelly on this song. This is a little closer to like Jawbreaker. Kind of how his voice he kind of yells a little bit.
Yeah. It does evoke that sound a little more.
I really like the line, "Tell me how you do that crazy trick where you walk around asleep." I like his delivery on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like I I promise I'm okay, guys. I know this is like such a bummer of an album.
But it's packaged in a way that, like, at first, until I started looking at the lyrics, I was like, oh, cool. It's just like,
Yeah, it
pretty
just like sounds
standard,
fun
like,
and
yeah,
jammy and
yeah,
groovy
yeah.
and
Pretty upbeat. Way more like upbeat than I expected, like a 90s emo record to like
right.
be. And I'm like, oh,
And a lot more groovy
yes.
to me. Like those, like it feels like almost kind of jarring how they kind of like go from like point to point, but they do a good job of. And I think that's that rhythm section, man. The bass and drums like really hold that down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. I have a note on the rhythm section, but I'm saving it for the next
Sweet.
song.
Well, do we want to go ahead and move on to the next song? All right, cool.
I did like that. Sorry, I wanted to say that last line. Foul weather friend, you're so dying, an amateur chemist now. It kind of wasn't until that line that I realized what this song was talking about, actually, because I was
really?
like hooked in more to the music because it is
Uh-huh.
kind of groovy, like you're saying, and I was like, chemist. Oh shit! Like, it was like retrospectively, I was like,
Right.
oh. But it's a great line.
That's I feel like so much of this record though is like I enjoy it for different things at different times. I guess, you know, because there is just like so much to unpack.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm good. That was the one last thing I want to say about that.
Let's move on to track number 11, or sorry, track number 10. I Typed for Miles, which is just a great song title.
It
It
is.
is.
It's like
Great.
it's so good. It's such a good song title.
I live in a hotel. I must keep writing.
This intro could be a Nirvana song.
100%.
That's funny. I wrote it could
I
be a
thought the
DC
same
Talk
thing.
song.
Oh,
Also true.
DC Talk obviously borrowed a lot from
Like
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Jesus Freak. This intro could be on Jesus Freak.
Yes.
Yeah, but then I think I was like, after this happened, then I realized like a lot of like the bass and drums on this record remind me of like Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl playing together. Like
Yeah.
you take Kurt Cobain out and like I don't know, just like the style of playing and how they play together on this record just reminded me a lot of Nirvana.
For
And-
sure.
And the sort of sonic palette too, like the guitar sounds.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
even
but they
feel
do
like Nirvana.
they just tend to do a lot more like major key stuff than like minor key.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is where they get a little gritty with it, which I do love. Like, there's like the descending like chromatic riff at like 57 seconds that makes it really creepy, and I love it.
I
Yeah,
like
that-
it. I think it you feel really disoriented listening to this song, which that goes along with the lyrics. And in general, this song reminded me, have you guys seen the Coen Brothers movie Barton Fink?
Not yet.
No.
It's on my list.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorite Coen Brothers. And it's about John Turturro plays this like screenwriter who's like stuck in this hotel room. Like all this crazy shit going around, and he's like heartbroken and he's like washed up and all this stuff. And I got a lot of the vibe I got from watching that movie from listening to this song. So I don't know if this song is like full on a reference to that, because it's what a lot of people would consider like minor Coen Brothers,
Right.
a little more like a cult movie. And there's
Right.
just like so much of those kinds of references in this album. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, he strikes me as like somebody that'd be into
Yeah,
Coen Brothers stuff.
I love this song
Back
too,
in the
man.
90s before they were cool.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I like that chromatic, that like real disorienting.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
I like how he yells. I love his voice on this song.
Yes, I have a note because it's at 451 where he yells, I don't get those songs on mine. And I was like, I really like
Yes, that's
his
my
yell
favorite.
right there. Yes.
That's one of my favorite moments on the whole record. He says, they're playing love songs on your radio tonight. I don't get those songs on mine. It's like,
Mhm.
I feel it.
That's really good. I also love the kind of confessional note to self. No one cares. Your voice is average. That's, I don't know, man. It's like, it's on the nose, but in a really refreshing way, actually. Because it's like
Right.
this humble kind of moment of like, I mean, in one way, he's being self deprecating, but also it's like acknowledging, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like meta because he's singing a song about how he shouldn't be singing songs,
Right, right.
and I like that. Like, because it's, I don't know. There's a little bit of like an admission of like, I get it. I'm not the best thing ever, but I'm still trying to like say something.
Right.
It feels cool.
Yeah, it's those moments on this song in particular that feel the most at home in the sort of like late 90s emo kind of thing. Like this
Mhm.
feels the most like kind of Sunny Day Real Estate kind of
Yep.
vibe.
There's like it's like an ambient jam.
Mm-hmm.
Kind
Kylan,
of cool.
these are long songs on this record, man.
I know, dude.
It's a
I know.
long
I
wanted to ask
record
you about
with
that.
long songs, and you love it.
I love it, dude. This is one of my favorite albums. I'm a multifaceted cinnamon roll of a man.
That's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt.
I want a cinnamon roll with your face on it.
I'm a
I'm multifaceted.
multifaceted cinnamon roll of a man.
I'm gonna tweet that from the Church Jams Now account.
Kyle
Tweeting that right
Savage.
now.
Yeah, you know, I contain multitudes. I'm always here to surprise you guys.
do,
That's
buddy.
my number one goal on this show.
You're doing it,
For
man.
y'all to constantly be like, what the fuck is he thinking? Because yeah, you wouldn't think that this is the kind of record that I would be into. Like, I talk about how I don't like jam bands. I don't
Mhm.
like long records.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like long songs. But this is one of those that, like, it just hit me at the right time. And once again, I will say, I could honestly do without the first half of this record. I think it would be a better record with just the back half, or if they switched them. But I like with the way the vibe of the first couple songs. I like the narrative, like the flow of the record. So,
Right.
I don't know, man. I'm a multifaceted cinnamon roll of a man. So guys, here we are. Last track on the record. Track number 11, Sweet Avenue.
Thank you for making me see there's life in me. It was dying to get out. Holding you, we make two spoons beneath an April moon. Everything is soft and sweet.
Sweet, sweet avenue.
Shit, this is such a good album closer.
It
Yeah.
is.
This guitar tone too
Yeah, it's
is
really
so
nice.
good. And then with the acoustic guitar and the piano,
It
this
sounds-
actually,
Oh.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say this, and like there's the other one you were mentioning, the guitar tone you really liked. I don't know if it's Lemon Yellow Black or something like that, but it's like it sounds like he's playing on like really like small amps, and like they're pushing those amps. Like that's what gives it
Uh-huh.
that sound
Yeah,
of like a
kind of distorting.
small, distorted, but like trying to be louder kind of thing.
Right. No, this goes so well with Sea and Enemy to me.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a real similar vibe. And this might actually be my second favorite song. I can't decide.
This is my favorite song on the B-side.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
Yeah.
it's so good.
I think it's my favorite like lyric work on the album, I think.
Well, yeah, this feels the most sort of focused lyrically.
I think that's why I liked it,
Mhm.
because it actually feels cohesive and in a more accessible way. You don't have to like work to follow these rabbit trails of references to like get the song. You can just
Right.
drop into it and you can get it.
Well, and it's
Right.
he's probably at his most honest in this song.
100%.
Yeah, this is, like, the
and
most
less,
very
the least
confessional.
veiled
Yep.
songwriting that he's done.
And that opening phrase is like really great. It's like cliche as hell, but it's so good. Tasting you in rain, I walk down to the train, try not to look down. This day could someday be an anniversary. Everything is light and sound. That's a great
Yeah, that's the
phrase.
thing is like lyrically this could be kind of cheesy, but the way he delivers it, it feels
Yes.
really honest.
Yes.
Because he also
No,
rhymes,
Yeah.
living by the hour, I stop for every flower. Which, like,
Which could be bad.
that's not a
it could be
great
bad.
line, but when
But it
you hear him
works.
sing it, yeah, just like
Yes.
it feels real.
Yeah. Well, specifically, like this day could one day be an anniversary. I was like, that could be cheesy, but when it like I heard it, I was like, oh, what a
Yeah,
great way to
it's-
look at life. Like
it's like Tinder,
that's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
You love it.
My favorite line is, "This cigarette, it could seduce a nation with its smoke. Crawling down my tired throat, scratches part of me that's purring, softly stirring."
Yeah,
As
that's really good.
as the only one here who is an ex heavy cigarette smoker, I feel
That
like
line
I
lands.
super relate to that.
Yeah.
Like it just feels so good. Plus, you guys know I reference cigarettes in like every song that
Yes.
I write because I think
It's
about
true.
it all the time.
Yeah, Kylan, you're a captain of industry, smoking famously,
Smoking famously.
feet up on the
Okay.
windowsill.
That's my favorite lyric from this song. That whole line.
Yeah.
I'm a captain of industry, which I love that already. But then smoking famously, feet up on the windowsill, looking at all these trees I feel affinity with. Everything's so soft and still. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's like that paints a picture. But just like I'm a captain of industry, smoking famously. That's a great line.
That
Yeah.
feels like a line you would love.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do love
Mhm.
it.
I also think like one thing that I appreciate about this song is that he does that sort of, it's like a refrain, but it's different every time, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That everything is light and sound, soft and
Mhm.
slow,
Soft
soft and sweet,
sweet,
soft
yeah.
and still. And it's like small changes, but it's just enough to be like, oh, that's a little different this time. And so the
Yeah.
line hits different each time.
I hadn't thought about this until now, but does this song, as someone who's not a big fan of this, not very well knowledgeable of their discography, does this song have Bright Eyes vibes?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Especially like
Okay.
earlier, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm getting.
And then
a
with
little
like
bit
the
of that from it.
organ and stuff though too. Like I
Yeah,
could see like Mike
completely.
Mogus bringing in some organ to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but this guitar tone, man. This is like
Yes.
all I'm searching for my entire life. Playing
Yes.
music. This is like
Mhm.
all I want.
And
But the
just
thing
like
is,
a simple line that just like works so well.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a great example of like less is more working perfectly.
Yep.
Yes.
And especially with how kind of chaotic and groovy this record has been, this feels like real chill.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and specifically about that guitar line that comes in at the end. Okay, this is a love song, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That my whole point hinges upon it being so. I wanted to make sure I didn't
Good to clarify
misinterpret the
first.
lyrics. That I was like,
Yes,
just
it's a love
searching
song
for a
to
happy
death.
ending. Oh, is it?
Josh, you didn't know? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. It
No,
seems
this is
like I
actually
just-
a reference to the 1926 movie, The Phantom Carriage. You
It
didn't
would
realize
be.
that?
It would be. Is that the second or third episode of the Scarlet Pimpernel?
It was an
Everyone
unreleased,
knows the Scarlet Pimpernel, right?
unreleased episode,
we do now.
Josh.
We do now.
Only Kylan has a copy of that episode.
Of course, yes. Okay, so that guitar line, that outro guitar line that we've been talking about that I love, it's going and it's in the right channel. But then at 4 minutes 43 seconds, it gets double tracked into the left channel.
Ooh.
So that it makes it feel like cool and it feels like stereo and has like a
Yes.
lot more space. It just like becomes
Right.
all more 3D. But I'm also like seeing this could be a metaphor of like now having someone else with you now, taking you
Yes.
from mono to stereo,
The stereo,
essentially.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's
So I was
really
like,
great.
Oh, I
like
love that.
Whether or not that was their intention, Josh, thanks for taking us there.
Yeah, and that's what I got from it. So in a way, it kind of is what happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's just such a good album closer.
Yes, I really like that about it.
Yeah. I'll say I like that they land on a positive note lyrically at the very end.
We needed it.
So
for
bad.
sure. For sure. Because
We needed it bad.
the second half of this record is just so dark.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm here for all of it. This is the best record of all time. So, guys, I know our friendship hinges upon it, but tell me, what did you think?
We all predicted bops, right?
Think so.
I don't remember.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Pretty sure I did.
I'm pretty sure you guys hate it, and you hate me, and you don't want to be friends with me anymore, and don't want to do a podcast.
Yeah,
and
but
think my
Buddy.
music
This
taste
is
stupid.
single-handedly breaking up the podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not
Josh-
strong like Josh. I
After
can't
this,
handle
Josh
a
and I
fireproof
quit.
situation. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
start
always
my own.
quit. This is our turn.
Yeah, we're quitting this time.
I made you too sad by making you listen to King
Yeah.
Medicine.
And Conrad. Oof.
And Conrad. Conrad is
The
Yeah.
back to
dark
back
as
too.
fuck.
Conrad
Rough,
into King
man.
Medicine is rough.
I know.
Kylan, I think you need to start us off. since
Okay.
this is
I
your
can do that.
record,
I
and
can
we
do
all
that.
kind of know where you're gonna land.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, guys, this is a bop for me. Obviously, I brought this record to y'all. This is one that's in my rotation all the time. It was really interesting for me to like really do, like, try to analyze the lyrics a lot more. That's something I haven't really done with this record. Like I said before, as sort of the resident vibe guy, this album is just all vibes. And
Yeah.
I feel like his writing style, like, I don't know, like, I can, on this listen, I could see why, like, there's different elements of it where I could see you guys not really digging, but it also kind of highlighted, I don't know if it did for y'all, but like why I love this record, like the kind of songwriter that I am, and the
Totally.
kind of like entertainment and art and things that I enjoy and the way that I consume them.
Absolutely.
This album just makes sense.
It makes
just
so
makes
much
sense
sense.
why I love it. Cause yeah, like I said, like the way he kind of writes feels very like stream of conscious, like dream journal-y,
But with very specific references.
but very specific and very articulate things. And there are these certain lines throughout that are just like, honestly, even just like one word. And the way he sings that one word will just like stick out in my brain. And for someone with an ADD brain like me, there's enough of those that kind of keep me hooked in
Mm-hmm.
and wondering kind of what's going to happen next. So I was all here for it, and it will continue to be in my monthly rotation even if you guys aren't.
Oh,
Whoa.
I picked Jets to Brazil over our friendship. No, that's yeah, no, yeah, it just made a lot more sense to me of like, yeah, no wonder I love this record. I love the guitar tone throughout most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Josh said, that kind of, it felt like it was coming out of small amps, but kind of pushed.
push small amps. Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for all of it. The funny thing is, I'm not super familiar with the other two Jets to Brazil records.
I was gonna ask
Right.
if there was more.
Yeah, you
stuff
kind of
like,
dipped
yeah.
after this one, right?
I've listened to them, but there's nothing that really hooked me. For me, like, See an Enemy just like
That's peak.
hooked me for life. And then I
Yeah.
listened to the rest of the record, and it just, yeah, I like the way it flows. It feels like a story. Everything feels kind of like a dream, and I love it. So I'm sorry you guys hated it, and you hate me, and you hate my taste in music, and don't want to do a podcast with me anymore, be my friends. But
No, Kylan, we love the record.
Josh, what I'm
We
saying, I'm
love
not strong like
you.
you. I can't have a fireproof situation and still remain friends because I'm gonna go cry and only listen to Conrad for the next month. No, all right. What do you guys think?
TJ, do you want to go,
Yeah.
or do you want
TJ,
me to
hit me.
go?
Well, it's been really great being friends with you, Kylan.
I know. I'll miss you, buddy.
It's been kind of incredible, and I'm really sad to end it like this. But at least we'll always have Orange Rhyming Dictionary. Yeah, I gotta flop this album, but I'll give some caveats. So I'm flopping the album, but what I would give a bop to is, in classic Kylan style, an EP with Starry Configurations, Chinatown, Lemon Yellow Black, King Medicine, I Type for Miles, and Sweet Avenue.
Okay. I
That
can dig
EP would
that.
bop.
That's a lot
That
of
makes
songs
sense.
from that record. What's that? A
Mhm.
6-song EP?
That's over half the record,
That's
dude.
half the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a bop for me. I think it was like so much about, for me, like the way that I'm lyric centric. We know this. Trying to like make heads or tails of his very, what was the word I used for it? Collage style writing, which I can really respect and appreciate, but I don't enjoy it as much. It's like harder for me to hook into. And all the references, like that made so much sense to me. When I was like listening back through it, I was like, man, this makes so much sense that Kylan's a big fan of this. And like,
Right.
I wished that
The
I could
cinnamon roll
appreciate
of a
all of
man that he
that.
is.
Yeah. like it landed like so much that was like your pick for this,
Right.
and I love that it was, and I love that I got to like listen through to it and
Well,
understand.
that was
you
my whole thing. Is
better,
like, yeah,
you know?
I just this is one of those records that like whether it's not as important to me for other people to necessarily like it,
Right.
but I feel like hopefully I as a person make a little more sense.
Yeah,
after
it's like
after having listened to this, right?
it's all these things that I've known about you, like, very. I don't want to give it weird, but like I know these things about you intimately. I already
Right.
knew them,
right.
but this helped sort of make them make sense to me in a way that I really appreciated, and like it gave a new dimension to that, to you as a musician, as a songwriter, as an art appreciator. Yeah, I'm glad I got to see things through that lens. And I'll say this episode, this conversation is a bop and a half. So that is
That's good
like,
because it'll be our last
oh,
one.
all right. Well, we'll see you later.
No, for sure. That, and I think that's what I was trying to articulate.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, I can fully understand why this is not a bop for you, but I appreciate you as a friend.
In my wrong
sitting down
opinion.
and listening to it.
Yeah. No, I was really glad to get to do
And
that.
I hope you got something out of listening to it.
No, I got a lot out of it, and I'm excited to like dig back into some of those songs in the ways that I mentioned. You were like
Just listen
challenging.
to Sea Anemone again. Yeah,
Yeah.
just listen to it. Just close your eyes and.
I
just,
want to
like,
see that music
imagine.
video directed by Kyle and
It's
Savage.
so good. Yeah, I see it all in my brain.
Josh can be the guy in the hotel.
I can
That's just
see it.
been on
Josh in like a rumpled
Some
suit,
vendors. Yep,
like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
100%.
Mm.
I'd watch that all day long.
Well, cool. I appreciate your wrong opinion. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I can't give a
Yeah,
shit.
no, you're welcome.
Yeah, no. I that was really insightful and
And hey, man, like I like this concept of like bringing an album to the table that like you think neither of us really know or might like as much
Right.
as you, and trying to just like put it before us and explain why it's meaningful to you.
Yeah, dude.
That's really special to me. Like I'm glad to. It's an honor to get to like be a part of that. So
yeah, man.
punk face.
Appreciate that.
For sure.
All right, Josh. Are we gonna be friends after this or not?
We'll see.
I've already written out TJ. I've already
see
muted
if
his
I
You
microphone.
just lost one, friend.
I can't hear him
yeah.
anymore. I don't know if he's still talking.
Am I
but,
creating a spin-off podcast with Kylan or with TJ?
right?
Oh no!
Who do you love more, mom or dad?
Oh, no.
Let's find out. Let's find out. Well, this record is right on the line for me.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot different than I was expecting. Like, I was expecting it to be more groovy, like have more musical space and like not be as wordy and
Right.
be a lot more kind of like slow and contemplative musically, kind of like the Chinatown
Right.
and Enemy kind of songs, which those were the ones that I was really into. There was a lot of like
Mhm.
upbeat stuff that I was like, whoa, this is just like all coming at me. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack there. So I was like, it kind of threw me off a little bit that way. Cause I was like, I went in with like, there's no way you can have zero expectations going into something. Cause you're like,
Right.
I was already like putting projections of like what I was going to think about this. But I love Chinatown. I really love Seeing Enemy and Lemon Yellow Black. I typed for miles, has some really cool parts, and Sweet Avenues, especially like having Sweet Avenue to end the record really like helps you like think better
It's
about
all
the record because you love because
second
that song
half.
is so easy to
that second
yeah.
half is just
Mhm.
like
Yeah, because I
Feel
did like
strong.
Resistance is Futile on the first one. Like that was the catchiest, but until
Mhm.
Chinatown, like it's not super memorable, I feel
Right.
like. Other than like cool, like clever lyrics in songwriting that he has.
because I got that on this last listen through too. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh.
where you kind of realize
That was like where it finally hit me. Is like, oh yeah, I don't think I like the first half of this record.
Mm.
See,
very
a
much
lot of my
compared
favorite
to-
records though, I'm that way with, where I'm like,
Mm.
I feel like the front half is just like setting things up, and the real like meat, the best part comes in like the back half, and that's what makes it like, that's kind of how a movie's set up, you know, like you like all the beginnings first half of the movie is just setting up to all the action that's going to happen in the end. So I mean, good albums I
Right.
feel like can
Right.
have that and are fine. I was listening to this in the car on my like drive home, and then like Chinatown started playing, and then like I got home, but then like ever since then it's just been stuck in my head, and I was like, man, I want to go listen to that song again because it's so good.
It's
So even only a couple listens in, like that drew me in, and a couple of the other songs I mentioned. I think I can't just like give this like a big like, yes, this is a bop for me, I love this record, but I'm like,
it's a
I think there's enough here that one, I think my rationale for it is like, do I see myself listening to this again? And I think I do. I think there's going to be more where I'm gonna like, I think I'll try to dig into this more, and I'll definitely be listening to like the songs that I mentioned because I really like those, which is
yeah.
like 5 to 6 songs on the record. And normally my rule is like, if there's 5 songs on a record, I consider it a good record.
Right.
So it hits that, and I like it. So it's right at that line, but I think I do see
Squeaks
myself
over.
listening to this again. So yeah, it's a squeak bop. It's gonna barely squeak over the line to where I wasn't blown away by this record, but I could see myself listening to this more and getting into some other parts and other songs that didn't strike me the first time or the first couple of times I listened to this.
Right.
I'm so basic that I just love Chinatown.
Like, well, so I first heard this record when I was 17, and you guys first heard this record in your 30s.
Yes.
So, you know, that's
Very different
You know,
experience.
there's something to that. But Josh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad I won you in the divorce. Haha, suck it, TJ. No,
2 Christmases.
Josh gets to edit 2 CJ and Christmas episodes.
Hooray!
Oh. I think I lost.
Well, cool, guys, we did it. Welcome. This has been welcome. What is? I'm losing my mind. The first episode of Secular Jams Now.
Secular jams.
Don't give a flip.
I'm gonna
love
put. Maybe I'll record me saying like, "Sex and the devil are good," and put it backwards underneath all of
Backmask it.
this.
That's great.
What is that
yeah.
witchcraft you're listening to? Nothing, Mom. Just secular jams now. Don't worry about it.
This is it. Let's do this again sometime, guys.
If you like this, let us know. If you have other records that you want us to dive into that are 90s and 2000s non-Christian records.
Yeah,
Let
that's
us know.
true, because we're starting off. The first 3 are ones that each of us is kind of bringing, but then it's you know, in the words of the Dixie Chicks, wide open spaces. After
Kylan,
that-
they're just called the Chicks now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can't say Dixie. Thanks,
But
George
you can
Bush.
here on Secular Jams now. We say anything.
I
you
love
guys
the
know that-
devil. Sex is good.
Jack
Wide
Antonoff
open spaces,
produced
Dixie Chicks.
that new record of theirs, which I find
What?
wild. Jack Antonoff produced that record of theirs. Their
No
new
way.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
sucks, dude.
Oh no.
I
Maybe
think
that
he's in
should
a
be our
slump.
next
I think he's in
Secular
a slump
Jams
right
now.
now.
I'm
my
not a big
Jack.
Jack Antonoff fan in general.
Yeah.
Miniseries.
So we're gonna do the Chicks discography or Jack
No,
Antonoff.
just Jack
Jack
Antonoff,
Antonoff,
produced
yeah.
records.
Okay, you guys
Yeah.
do that
Which is
on my
every
spin-off
record from
podcast.
the
I'm
last 5
doing
years.
the
So it's
Chicks.
gonna-
Yeah, he's just like all over everything, and I don't think he's that good.
We're getting too much Jack Antonoff.
Jack's
just like right now we're
saturation.
getting too much Taika saturation. Everyone's like,
yeah,
Yes.
put Taika in everything. We're like, guys, we're spreading Taika too thin. We need him to concentrate
Yeah.
and
Yep.
do what he does best in only
Agreed.
limited capacities. So does
Right.
Jack.
I mean, this is like Bon Iver 10 years ago,
Mm.
where
Mhm.
he was on 2 tracks on that Kanye album. I was like, this is too much Bon Iver, like too much Justin Vernon. All right, guys. Fucking peace out, man.
May all your
Our
favorite
phrase.
bands stay together, even if your favorite podcasters do not.
Oh no.
Josh, peace out, Monfair. TJ,
Oh.
I was peace out, Monfair.
TJ Kylan says, "Peace out."
Oh,
I'll
thanks,
be the
buddy.
little go-between now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We this isn't your fault. We love you.
Just trying to keep the family together.
TJ, no, I really love it. I actually, I really like what you said about the record, and I like that you listened to it, and I feel like you get me a little bit more.
I like that you invited me to listen to it.
Yeah,
We're so
even though
cute.
you hated it, and you hate me, and you hate my musical taste, and you hate everything about me, and everything that I love and enjoy, and who I am as a person, and you don't want to do this podcast with me anymore, and you never want to talk to me again. That's fine.
Yep, I definitely said all of those things.
The fucked up thing is that there's a little bit of my brain that actually does that.
No, man, don't.
Yeah, that's called anxiety and
No.
mental illness.
I wish I could
So.
just hug you right now. I really
I
want
don't really take it that personally.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. A little part of my brain, and I've had enough beer that I can squash that down and go enjoy something else.
Well, I want to even hug that little part of you and just be like,
I know,
I'm
me
sorry
too.
that I didn't bop this.
Well, just
But you're
I'm
a bop.
interested
But
to
you're not
see-
my mom. It's not your responsibility to do that.
I'm
I don't
interested
need to
to
work through
see
that with you.
how much Guns Blazing Kylan comes out on the record that you picked. For
Oh,
this. He's
yeah.
gonna be like,
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I'm
that's
gonna
the thing.
fuck
I'm
this
also
gonna
petty
tear
as
it to
fuck.
shreds. I've
Yeah.
already resigned myself to
Yeah.
that. That's just happening. It's fine.
Watch,
I'm
you
gonna
just,
I'm gonna
like-
hold that one loosely. Whatever
You
it is.
just like completely fuck me over by picking like Plans by Death Cab, and so
And
I
you
have to
have
come
to-
out and be like, "Fuck this record. This sucks. This is but this is the best record."
Interesting premise.
Yeah. All right, I'll start recording.